Hi, Joe here, Wooliecottage. Oh, it's nippy outside. Right, so I've had a few inquiries about doing some art spinning yarns. So I thought what I would do is a series of what I've learned from art spinning, different ways to do them, different techniques. Well, I suppose that's the same thing, isn't it? Different ways, different techniques. Different styles is the word I'm looking for. Different styles of art yarn spinning. Now, you could call singles as a single ply, but there's still this element of technique to doing singles. And I like to think, especially if you're using art batts, that it is more of an art singles yarn than it is a single yarn for knitting with, which either way is still a workable yarn to use. So this here is spun from a art batt, and it's all done in singles. It's just a single yarn. It has got a little bit of twist. It's still got the energy. I have steam set this. I probably could do with washing it, but I've just left it like that because it's just so pretty to look at. So that is 100 grams of a single yarn, and there is probably about 230 yards and maybe a little bit more on this skein. It's got sparkles in it, it's got silk in there. It's just really, really pretty, and it makes one of the most amazing crochet shawls and that sort of thing, or lace work is what single yarns are good for. To steam set these or to wash them, you want to do like a semi-felting. So when you're spinning off in the singles, before you even ply it, if you decide you want to keep it the way it is, fill up your sink with some hot, I say hot water, bit hotter than lukewarm, so enough to put your hand in, okay? But then you want to put to one side with some I don't know, fabric conditioner you can use, some wool wash you can use, and then in a bowl at the side of the sink, some really cold, frigid cold water. Now, get your cold water, get your yarn that you've just spun up, put it straight into that cold water. Make sure it's completely saturated, right? And what it does is it makes that wool frigid. Okay, then from that moment, grab it, give it a quick wring and throw it straight into that warm water, that hot water that you've got sat in the sink with all the soapy stuff and everything else in there. A lot of people use hand soap, some people use fabric conditioner, some people use wool wash, that sort of thing. Put it straight in there, leave it, and what that does is creates a semi-felting reaction, and it helps strengthen the wool so that it's not felted wool, but it helps combine those fibres together to make it stronger to work with. So that's a singles yarn, okay? So we'll do that in one of my videos. So that I'm taking that as part of my art yarn category. Okay, so the next you've got, I've got a pile of wool here in my lap. So next you have got, now this is spun twice. So see all those coils in there, and there is a string around it. So this is actually an art batt coarse spun onto something like a cone of wool. This has got glitter in it and everything, okay? And it's just a single tweedy yarn. Literally just pull it, and I'm going to show you how I do that today. And then you ply it again. No, actually, this wasn't done. Yeah, no, that was right. Do you know? Then you ply it again onto the same item. But at the same time, you get yourself some really nice glittery thread or a neon threads or something like that. More type thickness that you would use for sewing with. Okay, so really, really thin, fine. And then what you do is you spin that in while you're coarse spinning onto your plied yarn. And you let it just dangle, and those little strands will end up a bit like a boucle sort of look about it. So it's three-dimensional, it sticks out, it groups in different sections. So you do that, and then when you're spinning it up and coarse spinning it, then all these little pops of strands all stick out. Okay, I've done a similar technique on this one, but this one was spun as a thick and thin single yarn first, then, and let the thread, this is like it's actually a Harris tweed, very fine lace weight yarn that's on a comb, and I let that just hang down the back while I was spinning up my thick and thin singles. It's just about being a bit freestyle and not holding and keeping control of the fibre, which I will show you how to do that as well. So then when you've done that, you then apply your thick and thin yarn onto a cone of wool, or whatever you've got to hand, a nice thick cotton cone or something like that, and you will end up with this slightly boucle looking yarn. Okay, that's another one that I will show you. Then you've got your locks. This is just all locks. I've spun it as a single and then plied it up afterwards, and it's just lumpy and bumpy. It's great. You can felt with it. You can use it in textured weavings, all sorts of things with this. You can even use it as tail ends for macrame, for the weaving, modern weaving. It's got multiple uses for doing with art yarns. Okay, so that's about it really. Oh, one more, and charms. I do like, and do you know, all these are on the shop, all these yarns. And I've had this one for about 2 years now, and it's never sold, but it's got charms on it. So there, you've got Alice in Wonderland, little rabbits on there, the keys on it. The keys on there. There's all sorts in here. There's the little clocks like that, and I literally thread that onto my plying yarn when I'm going to core spin, and then I make sure that each one catches in as I go along. You do the exact same with glass beads. I did have a really pretty one, but it did actually sell last year. But that's a core spun, thick and thin. Then it's core spun onto plied, and then at the same time as I'm plying, I make sure that all these little charms are caught. You can't really see, it's not the best picture. Let me see if I can try and catch that. There's Alice there. Okay, so I will show you a variety over the next month or so. Each of my videos that I will be uploading will be art yarns, and we'll get that section out the way. And I will do a beginner's guide to learn to spin, and I will do drop spindling at some point. I want to, even though I've done drop spindling, it's how I started. And I do video tutorials with people one-to-one for teaching. I just want to get my explanation of it down to pat. So I will get one done at some point soon. But this is what we're going to do today. So what we're going to do is we're going to spin on a second. I'm going to take these and just chuck them over the other side. I will sort them out in a bit. So I have pulled out Terra. It's an art batt from a shop. It was a large 200-gram batt, or 212, but I've took it out and split it, and I've relisted the other half of this on the shop. But it's absolutely gorgeous. So what I thought I would do today, and it's been a request, to show you how to spin my art batts, and then I'm going to do it as a core spun, okay, into coils all the way along. Literally, I'm going to spin this straight onto a yarn, and then afterwards I'm going to then coil spin that onto another yarn. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. Sections of it will be speeded up, but I will talk you through at least the beginning of it. But what you want to do is get your batt, and you just want to pull off sections, manageable sections, off your batt and stick them to one side, because you will be using these, but you don't want too much in your hand at the same time. So I'm just pulling nice thinnish, about 1.5 inches thick strips off my batt, and I'm using my, I will show you in a minute, my Freya spinning wheel today, and it is the Kromsky Fantasia double treadle with the art flyer on there. So I'll just strip these through. So this has got loads of different things in it. It's got silk in there. I will get the ingredients card and tell you exactly what I'm spinning in this in a second. There we go. If you've got any ideas of things that you want me to do in the future for content, just honestly give me a thump. Let me know in the comments below. Tag me on my Instagram or on my Facebook page, and I'll see what I come up with. I mean, it was one idea, and I have done quite a few spinning videos in my timeline, but it has been a while ago, and some people just don't want to go scrolling back looking for them. I have tried to put them into a playlist to be a bit more organised so you can find them. But I do a lot of art yarn spinning. I say a lot. When I get the time, I get art yarn spinning done quite a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to go off, get the ingredients card, and I will tell you exactly what it is that I am spinning today. Okay, so what you want to do is get your leader yarn. Okay, pull it through as you would. Oh, all the way through. Okay. Right, get all your fluffy bits off, because it can be annoying sometimes. Sometimes just cut it and start again. Right, so then you want to do next is get the yarn that you're going to use for core spinning. Now, some people like to tie a knot in the ends of it. Sometimes I just grip onto it, but I'm just going to tie a little loose thing like that, and I can always snap it off at the end. That's just to hold that in place. So what I'm going to do is just wind that on a little bit. Make sure that your tension on your wheel is loose. Okay, not too loose that there's no traction on it, but loose enough for it to pull in the yarns. Okay, so on this fibre that I have here, okay, is blues, hints of turquoise, yellow, a grass green on hand-dyed Carolias, merino, Shetland, Andes with a merino glitz, which has got trilobal in it, or stellina, merino bamboo, a mulberry silk, sari silk, tussar silk, and a hint of viscose tweed. So when I made this, I did this wheel with the intentions of it being spun up to create a semi-textured yarn. Okay, so you want to just ever so gently draft out your strip. Okay, you can by all means pre-draft out all your little straps that you've done, and then put them into nests so they're all ready for you, instead of stopping and starting every 5 seconds. So put your cone between your legs. So I'll just tilt you down. See, my cone is between my legs down there. Okay, and I'm on a double treadle. I'm just trying to make sure that you can still see me. Hold on. Oh. See, the minute I move it, there we go. Okay, so I'm just going to wind this on a little bit. Now I'm spinning in the S direction on my wheel, and I always start with my oh, what's it called, my thingy-majiggies on the flyer nearest to me. It's just the way I like to do it. Everyone's different. So I am going to now start on a minute. I think I've got my tension still too tight. There we go. And just bring that in. There we go. So you want to let your wheel just catch and just ever so gently pull, and you just want to catch it. Oh, if you drop it, don't worry about it, you can always add it straight in again. So literally just you're literally just spinning the wool onto wool or a thread. Okay, and just pinch with your thumb and your finger the draft out, and you're pinching the yarn at the same time. I think I'm treadling a little too fast. No, I need to pull my tension a little because it's starting to over twist. There we go. Start again and slow down my treadling. It's always the same when I'm on this wheel. I always end up spinning, well, treadling too fast that I can't even keep up with myself. So literally pinch, pinch, pinch and push on, pinch and push on, pinch out, push on, pinch out, push on. Now you do want, doesn't matter if you over twist, because it'll all come out when you core spin on your next yarn. When you ply, essentially is what you're doing. You will be plying on your next stage. Look at those blues, and they're gorgeous. Sapphire blues. So what's deceiving about my art bats, you never know what's underneath until you get it home. Okay, so that's one section done. So I'm just going to pack that in there and grab myself another piece and just gently draft it out. It just helps with the process when I'm doing the pinching and pulling section on the covering of my yarn. So this is what you call core spinning. You can do the exact same thing with a roving if you haven't got a batt at home. Okay, or if you don't like to spin with bats. Some people don't like to spin with bats, so every so often just push up your flyer guides, or do you know, I can't remember the name of them. It's pinch, 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 all the way. And if you want to give yourself some really nice big thick sections, so you can end up using them for really big thick lumpy coils, essentially what you're doing is creating a thick and thin yarn, but you're doing it with a secondary yarn. There we go, nice big piece, lovely big piece there, and another big one there. And you want to keep it at a roughly about a 90-degree angle from the plying yarn. It does put a bit of toll on your wrist. If you're like me, I've got quite weak hands these days. I do think I've got a touch of rheumatism kicking in. So it does strain your hand a little bit, but just keep it at that angle. So you're covering all the threads that you're spinning with. Don't worry if it's not neat and tidy. Honestly, the magic happens on the next stage. So I'm just gonna plunk that back in there again and draft out another one. It looks so messy, doesn't it, when you start like this? But once you get it on there, it just takes on a completely different character altogether. Okay. Take that back out of there, back to park, and spin. And again, just let your fibres catch, as you would do if you were starting to spin with a new yarn. Adding on your fibres, and just pinch and pull, pinch, pull, pinch, pull. And you can just angle it down a little bit if it doesn't want to go on there completely, just to make sure. Bit of yellow in there. Touches of sari silk popping out now. A bit of green. Such amazing colours. I know greens and yellows aren't for everybody, but I think sometimes it just makes the blue pop. And blue does not sell that much on my website, which always surprises me. Unless I do it like a coastal theme, like with some naturals in there or something like that. And I generally find that my felters buy them colours. Okay, so I'm just going to do some chunkier bits. Just let that fall in there. Some yellow sari silk popping out. Some mulberry silk on that one. Pinch and pull, pinch and pull, pinch and pull, pinch and pull. So when you're pinching and pulling, you're holding your yarn in your palm of your hand. Okay, so it's in those 3 fingers and you curl it over like that. Can you see? So then I've got my thumb and my forefinger in the direction I need. I'm just going to push up my guide a little bit more. I'm nearly the last of this section here. See, and then you just let the wool ever so gently pull through your fingers. You don't want to do it too tight. I find that I really do clamp and I get cramp in my fingers, but I don't realise I'm doing it. So I've got a really long thick piece there, so I'm just tilting it down a little bit so it sits on properly and creates a lovely bubble. And another one there. Tilt that down. Just pinch and pull. I've got a massive piece here, so I'm just gonna, there we go, tilt it down so it holds it in place, and then back to my right angle and pull that down a little, pinch and pull, pinch and pull, pinch and pull, and there we go. And that's that. So I'm just going to finish off the rest of this, and then we'll get on to the next stage. Okay, so you've coarse spun all you will, or as much as you want to, onto your bobbin. Now, take into consideration, okay, is fine doing 100 grams. If you've got a big Ashford country spinner with those gigantic bobbins, perfect. You can get 100 grams on there completely. I can get 100 grams onto my art yarn flyer on my Kromsky wheel, but when you go to ply it into coils, it bulks out. So sometimes you get to the point at the end of the bobbin, or at the end of spinning, that you're starting to have to push the flyer around and feed the yarn onto it, because it will get trapped and it gets bulked up. It's surprising how much room art yarn takes up when you go to the next stage. So I advise wool, right? Wool that you're going to use for doing coarse spinning, or for plying with art yarns like what I'm doing today, or any time that I do it. I always look for a wool or a cotton that's got a bit of texture to it. You can spin with things like boucle yarn, whatever you've got on your stash, you can use anything, but make sure that it's got some sort of structure to the yarn, that's got maybe hairs on it. Like this is quite hairy yarn. Okay, it is a tweed, 100% wool with acrylic sparkles and tweedy neps on it. So this has got a grip on there already, but you can use things like fine mohair if you've got cones of that. Charity shops are the best place to go rootling, especially if you live where I live, where there's been knitting factories and sewing factories and things like that, and all the seamstresses have had all these cones stashed away from when the factories closed down, and they're under the cupboard, and they've ended up having a massive clear out because they're in the 70s and 80s and they don't sew half as much as what they used to do years ago. So I can get, I mean, this cone of wool cost me £1.50, and I've had this for 3 years. There's all sorts of different cones, but there are suppliers out there. I do buy cones of very thin Aran tweed yarn, which is on one of those yarns there that I did as a textured spin. Airedale Yarns, that's who my supplier is if I'm looking for cones of yarn for spinning with. Or even do Twinkle weaving, that sort of thing. Who else could you go to? Trying to think. London Weave Studio. I think it's a London studio, Weavers Gallery Studio or something like that. But you just give a Google search and you can find them. Also, West Blown sell cones of wool. Adelaide Walker have started selling cones of wool, but mostly for weavers. They are weaving suppliers, but weaving cones are your perfect thing that you want to use. You don't want to use anything that's made of polyester because it's got a sheen on it and there's no grip there and your wool will just fall up and down. What you want to do, if you want to keep that wool that's coarse spun on the first your first try, and then you decide to wash it and steam set it because that's the look you want the wool to stay in place, and it won't stay in place if you're using it on a very silky non-textured wool. Yarn or thread or something like that. So like a cotton thread or a very fine wool or a very soft tweedy or a mohair or something like that will do the job wonderfully. You want it to grip, so once you wash it or steam set it, it's not really going to move out of its place. Okay, so I'm going to go and use the exact same cone again. I'm just going to move this bobbin onto my Lazy Kate, swap my bobbins over, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so this is what I've ended up being left with to work with. Oh. All right, so you've got all those lovely colours, all those aquamarines. Well, it's actually morphed. It's actually, when you look at it close, it's actually greens, but from a distance, colour morphs, which is magical. Okay, I want to move out of the way, love. Right, so what we're going to do is once again get your cone that you're going to work with. Okay, well, put it between your legs if it wants to actually stay and do as it's told. Right, I've got an extra really long leader on this. So now when I spin this next, because I spun in the S direction, I'm now going to spin it anti-clockwise. So in the Z direction. Z and Z, Z and S spinning, if you've never heard the terms before, they're directions of spinning your wool, your yarn. For techniques, if you want to use for knitting or spinning, certain applications need you to have a really good twist on your knitting wool, and if you spin, and that's usually a Z direction, so you apply it and you spin it in the S and apply it in the Z, and you'll get a really good quality sturdier yarn apparently for knitting with. Some people say if you spin in the Z and then apply in the S, you get a better quality yarn when it comes to crochet. When you're doing weaving in your weaver's manuals and handbooks, a lot of people say that spinning in the Z gives a more tighter structure in your weave. Spinning in the S gives you a nice looser, aerated spin for your weaving. I suppose it's all down to, it depends on how technical you want to be fair, and the look that you're looking for. So once again, I'm just putting my thread through here. I'm just going to tie it in a little knot, not even a little knot, just a loose. There we go, put that in there so it just holds it in place. Get my yarn that I've just coarse spun, and I've got the strand here on the end, and I'm gonna, with this piece as well, just tie it up to the piece I've just put in there. Okay, so we're all set to go. So I am going, as I say, in the left. I just want to make sure that I've got my tension right and it's not going to pull on me too much. Now you want to start at the right angle because you want this wool to cover the yarn that you're applying it onto. This is essentially just core spinning again, but you're spinning coils. Now keep it at the right angle make sure that the yarn is sat just above. I always pinch my thumb and finger with my plying my core yarn in my fingers, running through my hand. I'm not gripping in any way. I am just going to tighten up this tension a little bit and just let that do its thing. I really don't need to do anything else. I just want to make sure that my wool is going on at a right angle at 90 degrees straight out. My thumb and my finger are just helping guide. You could slightly tilt that yarn if you wanted to, so it doesn't slide around anywhere. And I'm just going to keep on going like this. I'm not going to do any bumpy lumpy Arab springs or any lumps and coils and beehives or anything like that. I've got lots and lots of texture already going on from doing the core spin to start with. And you look at that, isn't that just amazing? I shall pull some of this out for you in a minute, and it is essentially as easy as that. You're not going to see the yarn underneath it at all. This wool is absolutely perfect for felting with. I do have a lady who's a customer who buys from me every so often, and she'll buy the art yarns because she likes to use the art yarn for felting onto her fairies and gnomes and things like that. So can you see that? Look at those. I'll just pull this out a little bit for you so you can have a proper look. A bit more. Now there is a bit of spring back in it. Don't worry about that. Okay. See? There we go. And once that's been steam set or washed, then that's it. It's going to look absolutely stunning. Okay. Iona. Flaming dog. So again, as I say, pinch. Just tilt your finger up a little bit if it helps, or just hold it like that. But you want the wool just to sit on the edge of your finger. Your thumb's just guiding and controlling the yarn that you're applying onto. Iona, do you know the dog's been down and picked up a letter? Yeah, I need that. Don't eat it. And there we go. So all the colours that you've just spun up from your art batt are all popping out, looking translucent in areas, some in not, thicker and thinner, and it looks semi like bumblebee beehive type things, but you're not making any effort. It's effortless. All you're doing is guiding one yarn onto the other with a bit of control. And I need to go and rescue this letter from the dog before she eats it in case it's something important. So I'll be back with you in a minute. there you go. Hold on a minute, you slipped down there then. Right, so there you go. One batt core spun on a sticky-ish yarn, and then plied again with the same yarn at a right angle, with holding the thread through your hand and just letting the wool sit there at a right angle, and it will coil like that. And I've got thick and thins. Just freestyle with it. Don't tense up. It's supposed to be about relaxing. So out of your will, I mean, out of that batt I had 106 grams altogether, and I've probably got about, I don't know, about 10-12 grams left over, so that's probably about 90 grams. Have a little play first with the section off your bobbin, okay? Off your batt first, just to get the tension right. Once you've done that, then you know that you're a bit more relaxed and you've got a feel for what it is that you're doing. Then spin up the rest of it, okay? It's just about playing and learning as you go along. The more you do it, the more confident you get and the more relaxed you'll become. And I like to do art yarn spinning in the evening when I'm sat watching TV, because I really don't pay much attention. I'm too busy concentrating on what I'm watching on the TV, and I literally spin blind. So yeah, just have a little play with it first. Use an old batt that you really don't like the look of. You never know. Once you spin it up like this, you might actually fall in love with it, because some wools need to be spun up in different ways, okay? What looks like it's going to be ugly to start with makes an absolute stunning type of art yarn that you would never have imagined if you'd have just spun it normally as a yarn, and you're looking like, oh, it's all looking a bit wishy-washy or muddy. With art yarns, what you're doing is creating blocks of colours, and it's amalgamating into different tones and hues and things like that. And you can do art knitting, art crochet, big chunky shawls with tassels and things on. So you can felt with this. This has got merino, and it's got Carolias, and it's got, what was the other one in there? It's here, my ticket's here, it's got my ticket in it. Andes wool, Shetland, merino and Carolias. So they're all felting wool, so you can quite easily needle felt with these onto a backing, really quite toughly as well, without it losing any type of texture. And you imagine that, a patch of felting on a felting background, or on a piece of tweed fabric that you might have, felt on your art yarns to it, into rows, like strips of it all the way along. Sew a backing on it, put a zip on it, you've made yourself a cushion cover. I mean, fair enough, you couldn't lean against it a lot, but as a decoration point for on your bed, wouldn't that look completely amazing? See, just randomly popped off the top of my head. So there we go. This week is core spun wool from an art batt. In the next video I will do a very similar method, but I will do it with the dangling yarn on the bottom of it, so you can see how to do that to create a two-dimensional coil spun yarn, but it looks like it's got another texture to it. Okay, any suggestions for spinning or just the basics, drop a comment down below. I'm happy to oblige. I'll write them down in my YouTube book, put ideas and things like that in my preparation and plans for videos that I want to do in the future. Just drop me a comment. I'm quite happy to do it. There is one that I want to experiment with, which I've never done before, and I'll do after I've done this series of art yarn spinning, is 3-ply. Never tried it. Something I really want to try, and I think that's definitely something I will do as one of my videos, so you can see me fail, figure out how to do it, and then go along with it. So take care of yourselves. I hope you found this video really useful. Leave comments and suggestions, as I say, down below. Hit that subscribe for future content, and that like button, really important like button. I don't earn any commission or any type of money from YouTube at all. I do this all off my own merit with my own stock, in between blending for my website, which you can find me at wooliecottage.com. But I do have a Ko-fi account, and it's under Wooliecottage on there if you'd like to donate me a cup of coffee. I'm actually gifting this to Claire Snedden, who is a fine arts artist, but she also plays around with mixed media artwork as well, and I'm sending this up to her as a little gift, because she's had a really couple of type months, and she wanted to sample my wools as well. Well, she always thought about getting them and using them in her work, so I said, so I'll tell you what, doing a video tomorrow, I will go and find a colour that I know you will love, because her artwork's all on coastal, You need to go and look her up. She's absolutely amazing artist, lovely lady to have as a friend. And if I can inspire someone, she always looks forward to my Monday listings, she says, because it just perks up the rest of her week and inspires her to go and get on with whatever she needs to do. So Claire, this is on its way to you, sweetie, with your order today. Anybody else want anything to commission me with? If you find a bat on the website that you like and you want it spun up in an art yarn, let me know. I'm quite happy to do it. I won't charge you any extra. It's just the joy to do it. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Don't forget Wednesday live chat for Weave and Chat Along at noon, and Instagram live on Saturday about noonish as well. Take care. Bye.